Welcome back to the Time for Heroes podcast. Right, this week on the podcast, I have Mark Richardson, who is a spoken word performer from Dundee.
Dundee.
Yeah, so we're just going to touch on Mark's life growing up, how he got into poetry and where he sees it going in the next few years. So, as I said, back to the start, where he grew up, what life was like for a young Mark Richardson.
It was all right. Life was pretty good. Just I grew up in the ferry, which is just like on the outskirts of Dundee. I grew up just in like the ferry's obviously quite seen as like another like a posh area, but like I grew up in just a wee tenement down by the water. My dad was a bricklayer. He's from Drumchapel. My dad originally, so
right.
And my mum's from Pentland, which is just like outside Lochee. So they met up. Like my dad, they met up. So they lived in Glasgow for a while, and they moved to Dundee in I don't know, mid-70s, yeah. So then we've got a flat down the ferry. So me and my brothers were born down there, right? But yeah. So it was like it was a good upbringing. Like, it was no bother that, really. It was obviously we're working class, so in the 80s was quite tough because my dad was like in the building trade, so he was unemployed quite a lot during the 80s. It was a recession and that. So my mum, she worked as a childminder, so she had me and my two brothers. I've got a twin, and then she had like 3 or 4 kids she was looking after at the same time. So the house was always like fucking full of kids running about.
Uh-huh.
It's quite like just a normal childhood, yeah. Sort of nothing. Went on a few we used to go on holidays down south, caravan holidays, doing it like different places in England and that. So happy memories of that, like. But nothing really eventful, like my mum and dad.
Yeah, those were the days. That's
Sorry?
what I used to do as well. We used to go down to Cumbria. Granda had a caravan down there, and we used to go down there for holidays every year. I love it, and I've not been for about 30 odd years, but if I went back there, I would know the place like the back of my hand.
Yeah. Well, we used to go to like it was Southport. That was a few places, Morecambe, Scarborough, but I always pissed her in when you went doing it. It was always like a week or 2 weeks. It was always fucking pissing down, and it was always something happened with the caravan or the guest house. They were always like no ready or like just something dodgy about them. But I was looking back, it was good fun. I always made an effort to take with somewhere. So like they didn't drive, so it was down on the train with the cases and that. But good, good memories.
So what was school like? What were you?
Wow, I kind of like, to be honest, mate, like school was a bit of a write-off for me. It was like fucking I just couldn't relate to nothing. It was like it wasn't a stupid but it was just lost in my own thoughts. But maybe that's kind of where my poetry actually stemmed from, because like I don't know, I probably took a lot longer than other people to like get things into my head and that. But I don't know if it was like maybe an ADHD or an Asperger. I've always thought I've had some kind of thing going on, but I've never like bothered looking for a diagnosis, because what's the point? So it was like I found it hard to like, I don't know, to speak in groups and that. I had mates obviously one-on-one couple, but see, like speaking in groups, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Got a twin brother as well, so that obviously we had the same mates now, so that probably helped a bit. So I think if I didn't have a twin brother, I probably would have been more like, I don't know, not isolated, but more like sort of, I don't know, I just can. But it was quite quiet. I was really quiet at school. Obviously, I got into bothers in high school later on, like when I got a bit older. But I was like always a bit shy. I like to speak to people and that end a bit. I don't know. I found it hard to. It was average in English. It was okay in English, but everything else was a write-off. But I just don't know.
So what about your brother? Is your brother get like usage maybe some sort of undiagnosed?
No, I don't. My brother's more of a extrovert. I would say more of an introvert, but like people think like because my poetry, but that's like, see, when my poetry, I kind of like going to character, kind of what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like an alter ego on stage, like even now I still sometimes struggle in social situations. I think sometimes it could be socially awkward, but people might not know that about me. But it's just, I think I don't know. It's maybe certain people I could relate to, but certain situations, I think I still do struggle, even at work sometimes and that. I don't know. I work on building sites, I'm a labourer, but I don't know. Like sometimes I feel I just didn't fit in places. But yeah, it's just part of me. But You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I kind of get where you're coming from. I mean, I'm pretty much the same. I do these podcasts, and obviously I speak to a lot of musicians. I get a lot of tickets for gigs off them, and sometimes I'll meet up with them after a gig, and they chat away brand new. But I'm like inside my heart's going. I feel really out of place.
I sometimes
And
feel like I'm on the fringes of certain, like people are conversating this. Sometimes feel like I'm just sort of at the back. I don't know. And this, I think growing up as I got like as a like teenager, early 20s, I used to mask that with like alcohol and like recreational drugs, and like just get on the ectos and like get drunk. And then see once it was like piss or whatever, I could conversate and no bother, but just like when I was sober, I was like kind of a bit sort of like withdrawn, sort of, you know what I mean? But yeah,
yeah,
I definitely did maybe you mask that by like getting on it a lot, like in my 20s, yeah, and in my 30s, you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I used to got the nickname Disco because it was like that man a party animal, you know what I mean? So when I was like 20, so even now as I'm obviously older now, but sometimes I meet people in like from that era, if I'm with someone else who I've met recently, like, and then I meet someone for like what 12 years ago, they go, all right, Disco, how you doing? People are like, what the fuck's Disco? I've been out with my mum a few times, she's like, Disco, like, because obviously I've never tell her, like, where it stemmed for, but it's quite funny, you know,
Yeah, obviously, like struggling at school. What were your plans? What sort of
I
line
didn't
of
really
work were
have,
you
I
going
don't know, I
into?
just didn't, to be, even now I didn't really make plans, but I just kind of live in the moment and just see where, I've never been one to plan, like, I'm going to do this, even like, no, I mean, I just don't know. I don't really think about the future too much. I just kind of, which is maybe a good thing. I kind of just live in my own head in the present, sort of. So I don't like. I think that could be quite a positive thing as well. But I don't know. I just when I left school, I worked in retail for a few years in the River Island, which was a good
Uh-huh.
laugh. Like just fucking in Dundee for a few years, and then after that, I just kind of worked in factories and laboured on building sites and that, so different places. And then I didn't discover poetry till I was like what about 20, about 30. Like I never kind of came a poet by default. You know, like for example, if someone's at school they want to be a musician or into whatever. Like I never set out to be like I want to be a poet. Like I never read poetry. I mind trying to recite Robbie Burns' poetry, in primary seven. Mine used to,
Uh-huh.
and I like, couldn't. I physically, I was up in front of the class with a fucking poem or whatever, and I couldn't. I was shaking. I couldn't do it. Like some people done it all right. I just couldn't overcome the fear. I just had to back out. So it's funny now that I'm up I perform in front of people no way, but back then it was like I never thought about poetry. I was always into hip hop like growing up, but I was a big reggae fan, like loads of different types of reggae growing up, and then as I got in my like mid teens, like the Wu Tang and like all the reggae sort of scene. I mean the hip hop scene. So maybe obviously that's obviously kind of poetry with music. So that's maybe where the lyrical side came from. You know what I mean? But I
Yeah,
never read poetry. I used to come. I've always been in. I've always read. I've always devoured since I could read. I've always read like novels, different kinds. So I've always been a reader. Like I'd say more of I was always more into reading than music, even when I was growing up. Like my brothers, they were into their music more. But because of obviously, I've got a twin brother, and we shared the room. Like whatever he used to play all these different music, so he got me into music, which is a good thing, because I wasn't like didn't think that too much about it. So he was writing all different types of reggae and all that. So he kind of got me into that, which is good. So I've got a wide knowledge of music because of my brother. But then I was always like more interested in reading, just like anything, everything and anything I'd read, even still do now read loads, but not poetry, just like just different books growing up,
yeah. I mean, obviously Dundee
And I got one
is
book published. Do you know that? I got a book published.
yeah, yeah. I'm going to
Yeah,
go into
yeah.
that later on.
Yeah, cool, mate.
Yeah. Obviously Dundee was kind of famous the early 2000s. Obviously, you had the
With
View.
the view. Yeah, well, we used to go to like the doghouse back in the day was like we used to go to like when they were I remember the view when they were like up and coming. There was a big band scene in Dundee, so I didn't ken them that then. I ken some of them now, but I mind just seeing them at the gigs and that, before they got famous now, because Dundee was mental back then, just one of the bands. Brilliant place,
Yeah,
The band scene back
up the
then was
stairs I've got a
brilliant.
wee map and it's got all the Dundee bands and kind of where
Uh,
they all intertwined. There's all
uh,
sorts of music comes to
the
that place.
doghouse was where they got sort of filmed, but that was like the main venue where all the bands went. There was a few other venues, but that was the best place, the doghouse.
Yeah,
And good times, like
yeah. Because I mean, they're like one of my one of my big bands, but obviously from them, I get into all the other Dundee bands in a bit. There was seven
The
or eight
law,
bands, kind of,
the law were really good. They done well
yeah.
as well. Like there's loads of them.
Louvaina. There was all
Louvaina, yeah.
sorts.
The guy from Louvaina, Dave Webster, he actually hosts an open mic every Wednesday at the Bank Bar, and they usually go down like do some poems quite a lot. I was down there last week doing some poems.
Yeah,
So
well, that's because they play quite a. They get more of a folky sound as well.
yeah, they were different from the indie crowd, which is good. They were like more of a folk sort of orientated, which was they were deeper, I think, you know what I mean? They were more musically talented, I
Yeah.
think, than the rest of them, Can.
So, when did the poetry start? Then, how did you just
Well,
kind of stumble
it's
across
sort of
it?
by default. I mind when I was young at school, I used to kind of make up like daffy rhymes and that, but I didn't think nothing of that. But I never thought about poetry. But kind of happened about it wasn't through writing, it was more through music. I mind one night in a party, we were all on it, listening to Groove Armada. It must have been about 29 or something in. We were listening to, can't mind the Groove Armada song, but it was like quite instrumental. I just started making up my own words to the song end, started rhyming, taking it from there, and like kept doing it. And everybody was like, "You've got a talent for that." So I just sort of started writing down, making daft wee poems about my mates. So I didn't call them poems back then, I just like called them rhymes, So making
Uh-huh.
poems with my mates and like the lasses a kid and that, just funny ones, And then just took it from there, started putting more thought into it and like deeper and whatever, and then more like so I was writing for a while and I started just like making videos, sharing them on Facebook and that, and like after a while, a couple of them I wrote one about Dundee, two wee poems together, and that went viral. Like it got like 1,000 shares within a few days. It was I think of the poems are called Summer in Scotland and Bonnie Dundee. It was two poems together, right? And like, I just filmed one in my house. So they went like viral 1,000. So I got like loads of like friend requests and that, Like so I got quite a following on Facebook, and then 2 weeks before the referendum, Scott like me and my brother went up to Glencoe. I had an Independence Ball, so I filmed that, and it was like spur of the moment. Took my top off, right up the hills, and had a fucking Scotland flag. It was like a pure Viking, looked like. And I filmed this poem, and that fucking 2 weeks before the referendum, it's called Wake Up. And I went fucking, it's got like 8,000 shares.
Yeah.
No views, shares. So it must have got like hundreds of thousands of views within a few weeks. So it went viral, right? It was getting friend requests for Canada, Australia. So I think I had like 700 friends on Facebook, and within like a week I had like fucking over 2,000 then, just like that. And then so I got a big following online So I was doing a lot. I was just making videos. It wasn't like performing. I kept saying, right, I'm going to start performing, going to perform, but didn't have. It was one thing making videos like in my living room or out somewhere with my brother, then to getting up on stage, which was a major obstacle, because it was like really, as I said earlier, it was quite like shy person, and like I didn't like
Yeah.
speaking in front of people. So
Obviously, like when you mentioned getting upstage, I was going to touch on that, like the spoken word scene. Was there like a scene within Dundee at that point?
there was a few like older poets, like the generation before me. There's three poets. They used to perform together, and Gary Robertson, Mark, what's his name, Mark Thompson, and Kevin McCabe. So they used to perform, but they weren't really performing so much at that time. It was more like when I was like a bit younger and I wasn't really into poetry. I'd seen them a few times. I might seen them all individual at festival, like wee festivals in Dundee. Hanny Festival, I've seen them, That was a band in Dundee. They were brilliant, Hanny, at the time, My mate Brian Harris and Paul Harris. But so I'd seen these poets individual and I liked them, but I never even, that was maybe just a few years before I started writing poetry. But even then, I still never had an incline to start writing. So it wasn't like inspired for them or that. No, what I mean, but there was a kind of scene before that. But when I came on the scene, it sort of maybe died down. I think they were still doing like some of these. The guy Mark Thompson, he's like established. He like does poetry, like workshops in the jail now. I think not like in workshop kind of thing. So I think that's his living, sort of like in. The guy Gary Robertson, he's like he does plays. So I think he's went and he's in the band the Cundies. So he's went maybe don't know if he focuses so much on the poetry now. Another guy, Kevin Cape, he was right. Really, he does loads about mental health and that. His poems are like fucking 12, 30 minutes long, So he was really deep, and so I met a few of them a couple of times now, So, but yeah, so wouldn't say I was inspired for these guys, but when I got into poetry, I did watch a lot of their videos and that. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
not at the time. But yeah, so but even now, there wasn't really much I've seen at the time when I'd done it. Like, Ken?
Yeah. It's obviously.
So I went. Sorry. So like when I first started performing, I just go. There was nothing in Dundee. There was one portrait night, but I never knew about that till later. So I just went through to fucking. I googled a few places in Edinburgh and Glasgow, so I went to Edinburgh and done a few like open mics there, just on my own night. And then my brother and a few mates came through it. So I felt I wanted just to do this on my own. You know what I mean? Just to get confidence. So I went to a few of them, and then I done a few gigs. Done my own gig in Dundee. I think it was in October 2016 because I went away. I've done a lot of travelling as well. A few times, been away for 8 months, 6 months around the world. So I came back and done a few gigs in Dundee and sort of took off from there. And I met a few people and they got put in touch with a guy from Glasgow. I don't know if you know Mark McGee.
Yeah,
I know. So he was doing like nights in Glasgow, like poetry, spoke word. So got put in touch with him. So and I went through, performed a few his gigs, then got on well with him. He's a mate now. He's a good mate. So I got in contact with a lot of people in Glasgow who do spoken word nights. That's like the guy Speculative Books. They do in deep poetry. That's who published my book. So kind of through that meeting with Mark McGee, I got like just in touch with a lot of people in Glasgow, and like that's how I got a book published and that. So it's like just these things like happen, So
So what's it like in Dundee now? Is it still kind of sparse?
There's one spoken word night called Hodgepodge that a guy Gavin he puts on. It's every once a month on a Wednesday, so it's like an open mic. Anyone could go down and perform at that. So I was just there the other night. It's quite good. It's a total mix. It's like a few older guys, students, like just all different types of people. You know what I mean? It's like I was maybe about 40 people there last time. So, but I'm put on a few gigs myself. Like start like before lockdown, I was like having gigs in cafes and outside. So I would invite a few poets. We'd do like maybe a 15-minute set each, like 3-4 poets, 5 poets, and then we'd have an open mic and anyone could come. So I was getting quite busy doing that, and then so I was getting like doing a lot of them, but lockdown happened, So I kind of want to start doing that again, Just sort of because now I've got a book. It's like it's giving me a new more confidence. See, when I'm on stage with this book, it's like a bit of backup. Can you know what I mean? Like
I see you in all the videos, and you're getting, and obviously, I mean, you. If you're reading these out all the time, you probably don't need the book to read it.
Yeah, well, I don't need the book anyway. Like I've got loads of poems in my head that aren't even in the book that would perform. Like I could go on stage and like fucking probably like 40 minutes of poetry just for my head. I've had the titles wrote down because sometimes see when I'm on stage, my mind goes blank. But once I ken the title, I can fucking recite them all with my book. Just in my hand. But so and I've been in a couple of high schools performed there. Just speaking to people there. No, like I went into Harris Academy last year. My mate's mum got us in, so I was in like a Scottish studies class, like one of these classes, where the kids are the too academic, basically like I was at school, just to see that, you know what I mean, you could do something after you leave school or whatever. Although poetry, it's not my job. Like it's not my job, obviously. I like I'm just labouring on building sites, and that's obviously where I get my income to survive. But it's like a sideline. I made a couple of grand off my book, like book sales are sold. Can't be far off 200 in that way. So but the money's came in dribs and drabs, so it's not like you've just got the money. It's sort of I've not really touched my wages. So and I got I was away for a month holiday in Madagascar just in fucking July, August, like backpacking around there. So I've had a wee bit. So it's a sideline. So it's a wee side earner. You know what I mean?
So like for these poems, how do they come to you? What's the process, and where do you find the inspiration?
I don't know. Sometimes just like if there's something trending on the news, like I used to for example, now it's like Israel and fucking Palestine.
I was going to get to that as well. If something like that would kind of trigger you.
I don't write so much political poetry. I used to but then I used to think I don't really know too much about politics, and I could probably get what I write. I could probably get pulled up on it because I'm maybe just hearing things and writing then, but I don't know too much deep into it. So I kind of now just stick to writing more about issues in Dundee, like the drug deaths, the difference between like rich and poor. I know like the gentrification of the waterfront and that, and more poems about myself, how of just mental health, whatever. So I like to write poetry and people can't, because I could write a big poem about fucking Palestine or whatever, like politics, and then I'm just like, I could probably get picked apart if someone said, well, what about this? They wouldn't really know too much in it. So I kind of stick to no, you know what I mean? Which is like, because I'm not dead deeply into politics. Obviously, I like to know what's going on, but And with COVID, I didn't write much about COVID. I just couldn't be fucked out in my head, like writing about that really, yeah. You know what I mean? I did write one poem about like an alternative, like about lockdown, like sort of. But it was more like what my experience of lockdown for when it was furloughed, like the first lockdown. It was like I enjoyed it because I was off work with 80% of my wage. I had a new girlfriend at the time, so it was like just fucking chilling with her, and then so it was a positive experience for me. And I was saying like, imagine the lost lockdown lasted for a long time, and like nature reclaimed the fucking streets and all. So it was like a sort of like a like I don't know, just like what would happen if it went on. Sort of, it was like from a different perspective, eh? But
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah,
yeah, but
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I'll write if I've got a subject in my head, I'll write about it and I'll like plan it out, and then but other times I just write. It just comes out of me. Yeah, I don't know. I've not really got a writing process. I just
Well,
like
is
I've
there
never.
a specific place or like obviously if you're saying that you work on building sites when you're working away, do things come into your
Yeah,
head?
well, I actually wrote a poem called "The Grafter," which was like kind of inspired by building sites. It was kind of like it was kind of about like a lot of guys in the building trade in Scotland, they're working class guys, or maybe they work out of the life, work hard as fuck, drink every day, boogies, whatever, and then they retire and they fucking die when like a couple of years if they make the retirement, because of their lifestyle and the hard work. So this is
Yeah,
called the grafter, and just like what. So yeah, I do kind of that was inspired by working on the building site. But other ones, I like to write a lot of funny poems as well. Like another thing as well, I like to use animals. I've got a poem called "The Rabbit and the Hare," which is about two like drug addicts for Dundee. But I like to put animals in my poetry because you could maybe get away with saying stuff and give it that you couldn't say about humans. If I call these just like Bobby and Jimmy, I mean it wouldn't
uh-huh.
be so comical. Although it's not a funny your subject, you sort of insert humour into it. You know what I mean? It's like a process just to make it more like a black humour, what a sort of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So type of him.
Uh, Obviously, I mean, I've had other spoken word artists on here. I've had Matt Abbott for Yorkshire. He was in a band, and I've had Leon the pig farmer, Jack Corner, who he's in a band with his wife, and that's where he did his poetry. He was in the army and he came out and he had PTSD and doing the poetry. He was going out walking, and again, similar to yourself, he was into the same sort of music, hip hop, and that's where he got a lot of the beats, and then he was just putting his own words to these beats, and that's how
Yeah.
the poetry came in. So,
Mm.
in terms of other spoken word, obviously you touched on two or three there. Is there any like further afield, like poets that have been a inspiration to you, or any that you just
Um, no, recently I got in touch with a guy. I don't think when you sent a friend request, I think he's a mutual friend, Ben the Dunhammer for Ayrshire.
Well, it's funny because I kind of added both of you at the same
Uh,
time. You both just appeared on my Facebook.
Because he's like, what? I think it was Logie. I'm like a follower of Logie on the page. So I think Logie shared one of his videos and it was like, this guy, Ben, Fade Dumfries, I think he's been like,
Uh huh.
he's been doing a poem a day, like filming a poem a day for like, it's going to be a year. He's on like day 200. You got me involved and I'd done a poem as well, no like on his feed thing, But I think some of the poems are, some are his, some of his mates who died like recently, well, last year, whatever. He was a poet. And I think he found his great granddad's, he found a book in his loft or his dad's loft about a poetry book. We didn't know he was a poet. Like, so
Right.
all these poems written, he was like published in, they found it. And so these are some of the poems he's doing for a year, like 365 poems. Like, some are his, some of his great grandfathers, and some are like his mates. So it's like quite a good, it's like dedication he's doing, like, because I didn't think I
Yeah.
could do that. See, sometimes
Yeah.
I'll go and film a poem, and sometimes you've got to do a lot of takes. It can be quite stressful, It's like, but I mean, to do it every for a year, that's dedication. So, like, you got in, yeah. So I followed him with like comment, sharing these videos. So he got in touch with me and asked me to jump on one of these videos, like send him a video, and he like added it. So that's an extra poem on Sing Me Ken.
Right. That's really funny. I literally added the two years within the
Yeah.
space of a couple of days, and there was another boy at the same time, Darren Howie. Um, I think I think he's based down south, but he's from Glasgow. And
Yeah.
again, all three is within maybe a week each other.
Mm-hmm.
Added you off, so I'm trying to get both of them on the podcast at some point as well.
Right, okay, cool.
So obviously you've touched on the book quite a bit. How did the book come about?
Well, it's actually like first sent this manuscript off, and Charlotte's, so the name's Charlotte's Ned, which is obviously a play on words of Charlotte's Web. Because originally there was a poem in it called Charlotte's Ned, but it didn't make the book. But you liked the title, because it said that to be the title. So I think it's quite a play on like word making a bit Scottish. So I've not exactly, I kind of stole the title and ripped it off, which is fine. But yeah, but my title now. So I thought it was quite unique, Charlotte's Ned. I mean, people will see this book and think, is that Charlotte's Web or not Charlotte? So they might pick it up and fucking buy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'd been wanting to get a book published for a while. So these guys, Speculative Books, it's a guy, Sam Small, and he's a poet from Glasgow. Like he's a guy, maybe I don't know, he's early 30s, but they're on a night called In Deep, like poetry in Glasgow. It's in the In Deep bar, like spoken word night. So, but then they've started their own independent publishing company called Speculative Books. So, if you subscribe to them, I think you subscribe £7 a month, and you get a book of poetry through the door each month. And I think as long as you're a subscriber and they think your poetry's half decent, they'll publish you for free because they'll use the money they get from the conscription, like so whatever. Say there's, I think they've got like £700 a month if they've got 100. So you don't pay that away, and then you get your book, and then they sell it on their website, and then I get them sent to me. I could get them published for quite cheap, and I could sell them on myself as well. So, and I've got them in a few like local shops in Dundee. I handed a few copies in, so good to see them on the shelves. I'd been wanting to get this book published for a few years. So originally, I worked like obviously all the poetry is mine, but I'm not the best at laying the poetry out in that. So I got in touch with my mate. He's a poet from Blair Gowrie. He's like English literature. He's done studied all that. So he helped me how to get onto the page. Because I'd say more of a spoken word artist in it to get onto the page. But obviously I'm still a writer. But he helped me how to lay it all out and typed. Like I typed up and then sent it to him, and he like laid it, like structured it all sort of, get the best on the page, sort of like an editor sort of.
Yeah, so that it's easier to read and.
Yeah, so I just thought like how to get the best flow at sort of, you know what I mean? So originally I think there's 19 or 20 poems in this. Originally I wanted about 35, but Speculative Books they cut it down because I think they said it was quite all over the place. It wasn't so they cut it down to so many poems like. About half of them are about Dundee, so it's like quite a lot about. It's quite dark, like poetry. It's quite dark poetry somewhere. Like there is some funny ones in it, but a lot of it's quite dark. Reading about Dundee's like social issues and that sort of. But obviously I'm a poet, so I write about what goes on. You can't like fucking.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You'll never switch off. There's always something that.
Yeah. So they cut it down about 19 poems, but originally I sent it away the manuscript to him, and I think it was 2021, like. The start of 21, and I never heard of him for like months and months. So I was like, fuck, maybe just no interest there. Then eventually, I fucking got an email saying, "Oh, we've got your book. Sorry, we've been fucking really busy. They kind of closed down during the lockdown, But and it goes, we like your poetry. We've cut a few poems out, but we'd like to publish it like later this year, So that was 21. So, but then it went months again. I never heard of him. I was like, fuck, what's going on, So I think I emailed him and I didn't hear nothing. And then it was like 2 months later, I was like, fuck, maybe just no doing it. And I got a fucking email with like the online version of the book goes, what do you think of this? We'll cut. And it was like, at first I was like, well, we've cut a lot out, but then I read. But the poems seem to quite link together. So I think they've done, obviously they're professionals doing what they're doing. So
yeah,
I think they're doing a good job in like how to lay it out and that. So I was right. I was like, just fucking just get it published. I'm no bother. They just do it because I didn't want to like go on any longer. So it was like, it came out this year in May, I think April. So it was like, a good 2 years, they had the manuscript and was just waiting. I didn't hear nothing for ages, so I was just pleased to get it out there. Know what I mean?
It must be some buzz having something like that as well. That it's all your work and it's
like
work.
I've got I've actually got enough. It's weird. I've not wrote anything for ages, because I've been like I've got a lot of older poems. I'm kind of looking at. Maybe I'm going to get another book, but this one's going to be more like shorter poems and like more maybe about nature and sort of like just about. Shit, this is more street poetry, like dark, like so. But I've got a lot of other types of poetry that are just like shorter ones. So I think I've probably got enough for another book already. So maybe next year I'll get in contact and see if we can get another one. just so I'd reach a different audience. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. If this one's done so well, you're going to capture that audience. Plus, if you can reach out, as you say, to a wider range, then it's going to take you from strength to strength.
It's just a good feeling when there's a few like. I just got 50 cent this other day, and another 50, so I've sold 20 already. I've got about 25 left to sell, so hopefully if I shift in.
Yeah, well, I'm going to take one after this interview as well.
So it's a good feeling though, there'll be like 250 books just scattered about Scotland. I've sent a couple to Australia. Well, I've sent one to Australia, a couple to Canada, America, like pals there. People have sent them, so it's just a good feeling like someone in America could pick up this book and say, "Oh, there's a pottery book there," and it's like people don't know me, so it's good, man. It's a good feeling,
Yeah.
I mean?
I was doing that today with the podcast. I was having a wee look at the audience figures and stuff like that, and there's a wee app. It shows you where your listeners are.
Yeah.
And there's like 2 people listened in Belize or whatever, and you're like,
in Belize, that's mad.
Who the fuck's listening to a podcast in Belize?
Scottish podcast in Belize, but it's good just how like social media could be a bad thing, but I've used it like to my advantage. Like I kind of use it mostly for my poetry. Like maybe you sometimes feel like you're posting a bit much, but then at the end of the day, I want to sell books. So I mean, that's what I'm using it for. I want to like fucking sell as many as possible, just to get my name, get my fucking work out there. So most of what I post is probably poetry related, like. But sometimes you think maybe people are getting pissed off, but then so fuck, you're using it for a positive thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People don't need to read that or watch the videos. If you want to watch them, watch them. If you don't, it just doesn't put us up their down, can.
Yeah, and this is the thing. The people that are watching them, they're watching it for enjoyment. So
yeah, exactly.
You'll always get people that have got a negative point or whatever, but they're not worth bothering about.
Nah, someone's always going to fucking slap someone. No, you just got to rise above it.
Yeah. Other than maybe another book, what other plans is there anything else for you?
Well, I want to like really start pushing the performance side more as well, because this first and foremost, I'd say like I'm a spoken word poet. You know what I mean? So I want to like start putting on. Sometimes you get a bit lazy and procrastinate a bit, but I want to I'd like to make my own wee show, just like, you know what I mean, just go on and fucking like the Mark Richardson poetry or something, and just fucking tour it about or that. But I'd think to more need to structure it sort of to like a certain thing, you know, or maybe just like a book tour or something, you know, something like that. But yeah, I definitely want to start performing more in Dundee anyway, just to get maybe to make an opportunity for more poets to like get involved as well, bring more like the next generation up as well. Can you know what I mean?
What about a YouTube channel? If you get in,
well, I've never really. I don't know. I did.
I had a wee look today and I couldn't find anything, but I found a video of you doing a poem about refugees.
Oh yeah. Well, I did. You know what it is? Because see, like over the years when I've had new phones, I've always made new YouTube channels. I've not had the same one consistently. There is probably videos scattered about of me, just different channels. So I've still got a YouTube channel, but I just need to get around to it. You know what I mean? And get them all grouped together, start doing them. Because I used to do a lot of sharing on YouTube, but as I say, probably 4 or 5 phones I've had in that amount of time, and I've always forgotten my fucking YouTube address and just made up new ones. So if you just typed in Mark Richardson Dundee Poet, you'd probably get a few coming up, but they'll be on different channels,
Yeah, well, I mean, I looked on Facebook before I came on, and I listened to a few, but there's hundreds on there on your Facebook.
Oh, yeah, I've got hundreds on Facebook, but as you could say, YouTube, you'd meet you'd reach a bigger audience, but yeah, I've got hundreds on.
I mean, I'm saying that to you about YouTube. I've not got my podcast on YouTube, you know. So,
sometimes I get fucking sometimes I feel like fucking Facebook. That's enough. I just like don't know, like, kind of what I mean. I'm just concentrating more on my book, getting around just at the moment. You know what I mean? Like, just having my book out there. But yeah, like, you know, maybe in the future I'll think about it. But it's how do you get all the viewers on? You know what I mean? Like, I've put some on YouTube. It's harder, like, to get followers and that. You know what I mean? I think.
Yeah, I think these things grow. They can be quite slow to start with, but then what? It just takes one person for it to catch fire. Obviously, another guest I had on was a band, Jack Jones for Trampoline. And they're a band for Wales. He did Jack done a bit of poetry, and he had these poems on YouTube that nobody was interested in. And then he had this gig with the Libertines, and Pete Doherty turns up before the show and recited all these poems to him. And he'd been the guy. There was like 80 views on this poem, and it was Pete Doherty had like 75 views of it.
Oh, really? He'd watched them,
And Pete Doherty's got him signed now. He's just published a book for him, which comes out next month.
Pete
Doherty's record label. But it's mental how things like that can come. It just needs the right person to look at it.
I see it. I know what you mean. Just a lot of stuff's luck in these kind of things. You know what I mean? Who you know as well, I suppose. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm just like I've performed with a few schools and that different times. I've done like I was on like this guy got in touch with us just like last week. He runs a student university radio station, so I was in doing like 20 minutes story on that, and he's going to play some poems in between each of their talk shows. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's reaching a new audience. Maybe reaches some students and that. So it's just good to get a recognition. For like maybe the younger generation as well.
Yeah,
you know
I seen you did. Was it an old folks home you did as well?
Well, that was just a favour for a pal. Just like she was speaking to one of the residents saying, "Oh, what kind of things would you like in here on your craft?" She goes, "Oh, I'd like a poet to come in or something like that." So my mate's a poet, I'll give him a shout. So yeah, I just went and done a favour. But it was good to see her. Some of them were like half asleep, but some of them like paid attention to that. So it was a good thing to do, Ken.
Yeah, it's really good, and
yeah.
The thing with the spoken word is you can capture so much, like such a wide audience with it.
Yeah.
But absolute pleasure having you on.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
I'll post all the links and all that. I'll post a link to that.
I'll share them. If you send me the links, I'll share them on whatever and that.
And obviously, as I mentioned to you, the podcast called Time for Heroes. So I asked my guest to pick 4 heroes.
Oh yeah, well fuck, I got 2. Like I've not really got. I picked Bob Marley and Jack Nicholson, because that's my favourite musician. One of my favourite, not just musician, just person, Bob, and then Jack Nicholson's my favourite actor, But that's all I could really think of. I couldn't really think of anyone else. So it's 2 alright.
That's alright, that's fine. I got some people have picked like fucking 15 or something. So
and I'm not much a cook, so I didn't care if it was Bob Marley, it like came for tea, I'd have to cook him some like Ital Rasta shit, kind of like fish heads and fucking rice, because he was like quite just obviously he wouldn't eat at McDonald's or nothing, so yeah, I'd have to keep it like quite natural sort of for Bob, and also would take a spliff after it, but yeah. And then Jack Nicholson, if he came, I'd him in for tea, fucking be something pretty mad. He's a bit of a mad cunt, but don't know. I just cook him up whatever's in the cupboards, Wouldn't be fussy, just fucking throw it together, whatever, pot noodles mixed in with fucking rice and whatever.
Brilliant.
I'm not much a cook actually. I could cook the basics, but I don't know. I was chopping some vegetables tonight, some sweet potatoes, so I've got them ready to go in the oven. Going to have with some chicken steaks, but
yeah, I mean, you must like if you're saying that you've been travelling and all that, you must eat a lot of different.
It was in Cambodia. I ate some like fucking crickets and fucking wee fly things, that were roasted or toasted, whatever they were, fried. Just wee things like that. But yeah, and then Vietnam,
like
it tastes quite meaty actually. It's like see like crickets. They're fried crickets. You eat them. It's just like sort of, don't know, maybe a wee bit of a fishy taste. Sort of, it's meaty. It's like if you get over the fact you're eating them, they're not alive. They're like so when you just sort of switch off and it tastes like it's quite a meaty taste, sort of. Yeah, I wouldn't go out and just eat them for the sake of it. It was just like because it was there. But Vietnam was really one of my favourite places for food. The food there was really good. Different, just lots of food and Madagascar have been.
I think as you say, it's hard just. If you can get your head around it, I think I would. I'd need to shut.
I couldn't see you see people on these big spiders and that. Like I couldn't do anything like that. I actually got when I was in Thailand. I got a bit for a snake when I was in Thailand. A green pit viper. It was steaming and I fucking had a wee encounter with a snake and I thought it was Bear Grylls. The fucking was a stupid thing to do. I was like my hand was like a fucking balloon after it. I had to go to hospital. I was on a drip for like 27 hours. My hand was like arms like a fucking. But I mean, it was a funny story. Got a few funny stories about travelling, but that could be another story.
What would have happened with that if you hadn't got to hospital? Would you?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Or would you lose your arm?
I don't know if you'd die, but maybe you would. I don't know. You possibly could have lost my arm, but what they said in the hospital was like it's only really fatal if you're like you're really young or really old. But it was like quite fit and healthy, so it was like all right. But see, they were just looking at me like it was fucking off my head, which I kind of was. I mean, what I was walking back from the pub to my hotel, right, and like it was steaming. It's like I'd been out with a few of my mates in Thailand just drinking that. So it was like came to 1 o'clock. It was in a wee town called Phetchabun.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the bar closed at 1. It wasn't like a big city. The bar closed at 1 o'clock. It was alright. I'm just going back. So walking through this like wee park area and out onto the road and just looked down. There was this seen this caught this wee green thing slither out the corner of my eye. It's like thing about maybe a foot and a half long, just a wee thin thing. That's a fucking snake. And I'd minded to always watch these films of snake catcher, Bear Grylls when I was younger. I was like, right, what's he doing? He grabs it by the tail and then puts like behind the head. So I don't know, Ken, I'm fucking idiot for doing it, but then they just try to grab its tail and get it behind the head. And next thing it just fucking fast as fucking bit as it, so threw it off. It was just on the like that finger there, 2 wee fang marks. So I was like, fuck, it's no bad like that. Ken, like you see on the film, sucking the fucking venom out. But anyway, so I kept walking in, but this time I could feel my hand. I went in like one of the 7-Eleven shops to get some munches. I thought I'll be alright, it's just a wee nick. But then as I was going to the shop, I could see my hand getting big. I could basically see it swelling up. So I spoke to the fucking. I tried to describe to the people in the shop. They didn't speak English because it's like quite a wee town there, and they were like didn't understand. So I went out and then I was walking along, and I seen this young couple there, and the scene was like, he goes, "Are you okay?" Because the scene was like that, and he goes, "Yeah, well." I described them what had happened. It was, "Oh, we call us an ambulance in." Ambulance came with the fucking light, the siren on, and I was, "Oh, fucking hell, what we've done?" And they took us in, and asked us what happened then, and just started fucking laughing like, "You fucking idiot." Can't laugh at it, is it? It was, "I'm going to die." You kind of knew it wasn't going to die because they were laughing, but then it wasn't excruciatingly painful. It was more of just a sort of throb in it. So I was like, "This is going to be a good story to fucking make a poem." I done like a sort of, what's it called? Not a poem, just like a video about it, sort of like a wee set, kind of the story. But I got to the hospital and then the fucking put us in observation because I was on a drip for like 20 hours. I didn't get anti-venom, I didn't think, but they just put us on like a drip to whatever that was, and then they gave us some painkilling drug, which was like fucking, I don't know what it was, but I fucking felt like it was floating. And she was like that, if the pain comes back, just come and knock at the door, right? So every like half hour I was like knocking, like they were giving us warning, but after like 6 times, they're like, "We can't give you any more. You've had too much." The mad Scottish countries.
Imagine you'd lost your hand and you weren't able to hold your book when you're doing your sport.
Yeah, just had to do it with one hand. But yeah, so the kind of asked me to describe the snake. So I was like, yeah, it was a fucking. It sounds like a green pit viper, but you'll be okay, Ken. So it was a fucking. Obviously in Thailand, the first thing they teach parents is like, "Didn't go near." Like here, you say to your kid, "Didn't go near the road," or "Didn't go near the railway." In Thailand, it's "Didn't go near snakes." So yeah, I was like fucking. And when I told people the story, they just looked at me like I was off my fucking head, right? Which I kind of was at the time, but I was steaming, so that's my excuse.
So that's us. That's us done. Obviously, as I said, I'll post all the links to your Facebook and your Instagram. I'll post some links for the book. Before you go, I don't know if you want to read out a poem for us for the show.
Yeah, I could read it one. Like I don't know what I'll do.
I've had these a couple of times for the other spoken words, and it's quite nice to get something read out.
Yeah, I'll do Vampire in Parliament, right?
Brilliant.
It's not actually about vampires, it's about something much worse, but you'll ken when you hear it.
Take it away.
Right. By day, he was a politician and came with a smile. By night, transformed by a dark magician into something evil and vile. He wore a mask throughout the day, then discarded it at night. He was a slave to the darkness, such a hideous sight, searching for victims to suck their blood dry. Then, when his body was saturated, he'd take off and fly. The rumours were spreading. Someone needed to inquire. Could he really be a politician, a vampire? Oh no, it couldn't be true. But there's no smoke without fire. Oh, but he's such a great man. Just look into his eyes. Well, look a little closer and you'll see where true darkness lies. Now, suppose he had friends in showbiz as well, a secret society of vampires from the dark depths of hell, creatures of impunity, but time will always tell. Now, suppose the BBC were aware and covered this all up, all of them together, drinking from the devil's cup. Then we'll take this inquiry to the doors of Buckingham Palace. Oh, such a thing is not possible, is said with a cold, quiet malice. So fuck all was said, fuck all was done. These vampires had a license to carry on with their fun. Young victims plucked out the night, too small to struggle, too small to fight. So case now closed, no such thing as these beasts. And behind the cover of darkness, they continue to feast.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Okay, it's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you.
Absolutely. And as I say, I'll post all the links. But thank you very much for coming on.
Okay, mate.
I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Time for Heroes podcast. If you would like to get in touch, the best way is on the Facebook page, Time for Heroes podcast, or on Instagram at Time for Heroes podcast, or Twitter at Time for Heroes P1, or drop me an email at timeforheroespod@gmail.com. You'll find Time for Heroes on all podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple, Google and Amazon. Please leave a review where you can, share with others, and more importantly, enjoy.